class. This is part 4 of water pollution. I think we're towards the end of this. I think this chapter is just going to have four videos, or maybe one more, 5 tops. So a couple of things again. In the previous videos I've talked about it. Sometimes it becomes very difficult to control pollution in the ocean for a couple of reasons. It's out of sight, it's out of mind. Second thing, again, it is a non-point source. You have no way of figuring out who is throwing chemicals in it, who is throwing basketballs in it, and who is throwing tires in it. There's no actual, pieces of plastic that float in the water don't have a made in USA or made in China label to it. If they did have made in China label, it doesn't mean that China threw it in. They do make the world's most amount of plastic. It has constantly been a killer when it comes to animal and plant life. I mean, usually big, large mammals and birds get choked in it, that get snared in them. Sometimes fish tend to mistake these plastic for food and eat them. We have a ton of fish that are actually starving because of that and die of starvation, because instead of eating the algae, the phytoplankton and the zooplankton that they eat, they tend to eat plastic. Now, problem is plastic, they are full. They feel like they have eaten food, but plastic cannot be digested, so it just sits in their stomach and eventually they die of starvation. All of these things are pretty sad. That is a very, very, very sad picture. Yeah, that's a little sad. It has like the biggest eyes and the saddest eyes you've ever seen. Dang. I am going to talk about oil pollution. I'm going to talk about a particular chemical. And again, this is one of those things that really will help you in writing your essay. Oil spills, the latest oil spill we know is the 2010 BP oil spill. Where is it? So the BP oil spill were about 50,000 gallons. It was a underwater deep well thermal well rupture. So what they do is they use this chemical corset, which is an oil dispersant. So you put it on oil, it disperses the oil, kind of emulsifies the oil. Think about it as the egg in your salad dressing, right? So it disperses the oil, emulsifies the oil, makes them into small little micelles. That's what they're called, little small bubbles of oil, and that oil either sinks to the bottom of the ground or of the soil of the ocean and then is recycled, or it kind of suspends itself in the water and bacteria work on them, so bioremediation takes place, which is a good thing. Unfortunately, one of the things that we made a huge mistake with this is the EPA had tested corset for its effectiveness, but not for its toxicity. So it was just somebody pulled some strings somewhere and it was tested for effectiveness. Very effective against oil spills. Also carcinogenic. Also very, very detrimental to animal life and plant life in the ocean, which was never tested. Now, in Europe, in the EU, it has been banned because of its toxicity. Now, in small quantities, it is okay to use, but not to the large extent that was used in the BP oil spill. Now, one of the other great things they did, usually the way this works is there's a huge slick of oil on water, then you spray corset on it, it emulsifies the oil, sinks to the bottom, or it suspends in the water, bacteria work on it and take care of it. However, one of the things that they did was they went down to the vent that the oil spill was happening in a deep well. So they went down there and they injected it directly into the vent. So the idea was to disperse the oil right there. So in that process, what they basically did was spread this large amounts of this contaminant to the ocean floor. Today, the Gulf Coast is seeing a lot of after effects of Porzit. There's a lot of protest that's going on right now. People are really asking, a ton of people are asking for compensation because there's a die-off among fish, there's a die-off, plants are dead, there's a die-off among fish, there's a lot of like weird oil slick that's found everywhere. And people are developing, like people who live by the coast, go swimming in the water, develop this weird kind of rash all over their body. So there is a ton of protest happening. However, nothing is going to be done about that. So some of the cheapest and easiest ways to reduce water pollution is we could use 90% less of road salt and we would still be better off. Remember, when you put salt, most of it just goes into the soil, making your soil more alkaline, like ruining your soil, and it seeps into the groundwater, making the groundwater more salty. It's just a mess. Plus it ruins your car. Obviously dispose off of oil very carefully. Make sure that all the metals, heavy metals, are recovered, like instead of just letting them flush out. Remember, heavy metals have a very simple process can be used to remove heavy metals. You can use something called as distillation. Sorry, distillation. Or also called fractional distillation. Basically what you do is you boil the water. Metals have a very high boiling point. They do not boil at 100 degrees Celsius. So you boil the water, and you have these huge pipes. And as the water boils, it goes across the L pipe. It's cooled, and on the other side, pure water is collected. And the metals and salts and any other impurity just stays in the bottom. It's not a very expensive process, but it does increase the cost of the product that you buy. So one of the things that you have to understand is that while it's very easy to say corporations are evil and they don't want to clean stuff, they don't want to do this, they want to throw industrial waste here and there, one of the biggest things that we can do is we don't ask for the cheapest of the cheapest of the cheap products. When you buy something, when you buy a ton of, let's say you buy a pair of pants for $2, it is made out of child labor. The fact that it is $2 means it's made out of child labor. When you ask for cooking oil, when you go to your, not cooking oil, when you buy a computer and you want to buy it for $300 or $200, there is mining involving very, very questionable processes where there is no cleaning of the waste material. Cleaning of waste material costs money. The corporation cannot be expected to bite that loss. It's just not going to happen. So they will have to pass it on to us. So if you're willing to pay $10 more for your computer, you probably can ask for something like that, ask for a distillation process. As long as we are eternally chasing cheaper and cheaper and cheaper products, corporations are going to cut corners. And one of the places they are going to cut corners is going to be in waste disposal and the environment. So a couple of main non-point, remember again, like I talked about in the past, non-point pollutions are very, very important and very dangerous just because there is no accountability. So this gives you an idea where your non-point comes from. Again, besides all of this stuff, there are more than 7 billion people. When you have 7 billion people, the human beings produce a lot of waste material, and that waste material is a biological hazard. It is a biological contaminant. There is a ton of pathogenic bacteria in human waste. Again, This is very interesting. I am never ever going to Mexico or living downwind from Mexico. Now, this is actually a huge problem because a lot of places don't have proper toilet facilities. There's not proper sanitation facilities. Outdoor urination and defecation is pretty much a norm in a lot of poor countries. I think Chelsea Clinton is doing a very amazing campaign of fighting diarrhea and dysentery. She's a spokesperson for it. She's not fighting it, but she does bring awareness to it. Diarrhea and dysentery kill more people than malaria does. It is a very, very, very harmful disease. It's not a glamorous disease. We don't run around saying, we're going to do an ice bucket challenge for diarrhea, but it kills more people than ALS can ever even dream of killing. It is a norm. There is no money for proper. A toilet in a poor country can save more lives than any kind of food you can provide them. A mosquito net can save more lives than anything else you can provide them. Both of these things can be achieved for less than $100. A mosquito net costs 50 cents. Okay, this is even in developed countries, especially rural living, as well as living in unincorporated areas. We tend to have septic systems, and we have talked about septic systems being very dangerous if there is a crack in them, if there is seepage coming out of it. This is an interesting term that you must know, is night soil. In a lot of countries, human waste and animal waste is taken in, converted into fertilizer, and then spread in the fields. Causes a lot of diseases. Now, there are different ways to do it. One of the ways is if it goes through the biogas filter system where bacteria works on them, produces methane gas, does a remediation. You're doing a bioremediation on it, and then you tend to use the waste of it. You're reducing the number of pathogens that can cause disease, but you still can. So this is a septic tank. With the little manhole cover through which I'm going to show you a video of people actually in developing countries that jumping into these manhole covers to dig for gold and also clean them up. It is supposed to be one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. Now, if once this goes into the soil, if it's not like taken care of properly, you could have seepage from any of this area. And if, let's say, you had a little aquifer right here, you look at seepage from there. I'm not going to expect you to be able to know the actual figure, actual dimensions of a septic tank, but you do need to know that septic tank needs to have proper vents to allow for the methane gas. Here, the sewage treatment system, I'm gonna do a different slide for it because I just have a minute left on this. I'm gonna do a different slide on sewage treatment system. That is going to be one of those essay questions that you might have.